it takes a lot of guts to go out there and say, as others have done, but I think no one with greater impact, say, yes, I have a cancer and it's being treated. And to be able to say, which I think must give a great deal of pleasure to a great many people.
I've been talking all morning about the main story dominating the headlines, the King sharing, in his own words, his good news on his cancer treatment. He put out a deeply personal message, video message, one we've not heard from a monarch before. The King was speaking as part of Channel 4's Stand Up to Cancer campaign.
Today I am able to share with you the good news that thanks to early diagnosis, effective intervention and adherence to doctors' orders, my own schedule of cancer treatment can be reduced in the new year. This milestone is both a personal blessing and a testimony to the remarkable advances that have been made in cancer care in recent years. Testimony that I hope may give encouragement to the 50% of us who will be diagnosed with the illness at some point in our lives.
Well, that is the King speaking in a video which was released last night. Let's speak to the broadcaster, Jonathan Dimbleby, of course, who is a friend of the King. Good morning to you.
Chloe, good morning.
Thank you for being with us. How surprised were you that the King decided to be actually so open about his health?
I wasn't surprised. I was pleased that he decided to do it. I wasn't surprised because I know how extraordinarily seriously he takes the issue that you raised, the fact that 9 million people do not come forward for screening who are entitled to screening, and lives are lost as a consequence. And secondly, he is very aware that he has this unique potential as the monarch, as sovereign, as the King, that when he speaks, people actually respond. I mean, it is not, he didn't speak at this time, but when it was, the palace said that he was being treated for a benign prostate enlargement, but mercifully it was benign, there was 1,000% increase of people going to the NHS website to look up prostate cancer. So he realizes the huge importance of doing it. It's a big thing to do, of course, because, you know, most people don't want to. It takes a lot of guts to go out there and say, as others have done, but I think no one with greater impact, say, yes, I have a cancer and it's being treated. And to be able to say, which I think must give a great deal of pleasure to a great many people, and I can tell you that the treatment is being effective to the point that the number of treatments I have to have from the new year is being reduced, so I can get more of my job done without having it interrupted all the time by obeying the doctor's rules, which he has always done, but rather reluctantly, to make sure I have the treatment on time, because that's very, very important.
And I'm interested that you say there about his ability, obviously, to connect with people because of his unique position, and also the fact that it takes a lot of guts to talk about that. Speaking of the King as a friend, how difficult is it for him to essentially open up about something that is so deeply personal, and for many of us would be very difficult to talk about, let alone the King?
Well, he is naturally quite a private person. He's not someone who flaunts his views or attitudes or feelings. He's although he has very strong feelings, he doesn't want to go around shouting the odds. It's a big thing for him to do, and it's a bigger thing for him to do, I suspect, than for most people, if not everyone, because he is so under scrutiny all the time. But I think there's another thing, if I may say, that this, you know, there are those who are quite cynical about the institution, who sneer and say, oh, it's garden parties, cutting ribbons, etc., and going in coaches and big cars. It's so much more than that, and he is aware of that without ever feeling it's anything more than an absolute duty and an honour that he has to use that role. And so I think that's why he overcomes that urge to be private, knowing that he has to be public. And so everyone who sees him on television or firsthand, and don't forget there are millions of millions of people who see him in various parts of the world and in this country, small events, big events, who see that in person he is a real person and a person of warmth and charm, as well as having the great and important role as head of state.
You alluded to the fact that he's continued to work throughout his treatment, and I was amused that you said he reluctantly followed doctors' advice. Is he a good patient?
I wouldn't put him down. I don't wish to be in any way lèse-majesty, but I would not wish to, I wouldn't regard him as a good patient in the sense that he says, oh, yes, another day of treatment coming up, looking forward to that, a day off. On the contrary, he found it irritating that he got in the way of his program because, he's so aware that the program matters. He really cares for it. So I don't think I think he's a sensible patient, which is a different thing. And he's filled with gratitude, as you can tell from what he said in that broadcast. He really is grateful for what the huge advances in medicine and the great care of those looking after him, as they do look after all cancer patients when they humanly can do so. He's perfectly aware that is fundamental. I mean, I'm struck by that I don't know whether he is aware of this actually, but I think that by speaking, in fact, I'm not sure. I don't believe he really is aware because he's not someone who kind of is in any way satisfied with himself. But I think the fact that he said it. I mean, I've been acquainted, like nearly everyone. We know, as he said, 1 in 2 of us are going to get a cancer in our lifetimes. I've been aware of what it is for people to have a cancer, and to know that you can share it with someone, feel free to speak about it, is hugely important. It also is very beneficial because it allows you to be in a psychological frame of mind to cope with the problem more effectively. My father, who you may know, was a very famous public figure as a broadcaster. He died at the age of 52. He died from testicular cancer. He'd been too embarrassed by the symptoms of testicular cancer, and he didn't go until it was late in the day when he reported it. However, he lived on and he worked flat out until a few months before his death, 3 months before his death, which was 60 years ago this year. And in that time, no one knew. People said, isn't he looking a bit gaunt? That was about all there was. But when he, through David, my brother, said, I have got cancer, it had a huge impact at that stage, 60 years ago, because what he was doing was to say, look, people don't like the term. They call it the big C. It's perfectly okay to say cancer, but we've advanced so far from that. But we need to go further, and the King is very, very aware of that. It's the biggest cancers. The various cancers are the biggest killers. Huge advances make much more likely that we can live for a long time or cure cancers, but only if people have early treatment.
Yeah, and that was what was so important, wasn't it, in the King's video message yesterday. I want to ask you, we know he's not cancer free, but his treatment is going to significantly reduce in the new year, which he called good news and a blessing. I mean, I know you've said yourself, he likes to work hard. That's what he wants to do. But do you get a sense that maybe Prince William will need to take on some more public duties just to support his father?
I honestly don't know. The Prince of Wales has a lot of public duties in any case. I think that his father is someone who feels very confident he can do the job. I mean, he can't, he's not eternal. He can't do it eternally, but he can do it for a pretty long time. And he's in other ways fit, active, healthy, has a very frugal, careful diet. Doesn't drink too much, is not suffering from one of the awful things about the cancers is that obesity is a major cause. I think it's, I don't want to get the statistic wrong, but it's a significant cause of many of our cancers. And so I think the fact that he's been able to work and can continue to work and can have a reduced treatment schedule means that he'll be doing more work than ever, would be my guess.
Yeah. I mean, families are complicated. We all know it's coming up to Christmas and it can be a tricky time to navigate for the best of us. But do you think through everything that the King has been through, there is a greater hope of building a closer relationship with his son, Prince Harry?
I'm honestly not equipped. I'm so sorry.
No, I just wondered your thoughts. That's fair enough.
I'm not equipped to comment in any useful way on that subject. You'll forgive me.
No,
I can comment on what I've talked about. I hope helpfully.
Absolutely.
I can say one more thing about what he does, Chloe, which is if you think while he was having this treatment, he had hundreds of engagements. Think back not very long ago when he went as the Supreme Governor of the Church of England, went to Rome, extraordinary event where he knelt and prayed alongside the Pope. No one else could have had the same impact by doing that. A few days later, he was at the unveiling the LGBTQ memorial at the National Arboretum for those who had been, until the year 2000, had to keep their sexuality hidden. These are big things to do. And the symbolic effect of the king doing it is something that I think can't be copied by anyone else. The same effect. Prime ministers can do the same thing. But imagine, there's no criticism at all of Wes Streeting in this case. Imagine him saying the same thing. It would have some impact, of course, but it wouldn't have anything like the impact of the particular role of the sovereign doing that. And that's one of the unique qualities that strange old institution has, a hold over us.
It's been lovely to speak to you this morning. Thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. That is the broadcaster Jonathan Dimbleby, of course, a friend of the King.